Hello, thank you. Welcome, Luke Rizzo, aka Cloak Dagger. I'm going to give folks a quick overview of who you are and what you're into before we get into the interview. So this is my third guest now on Island Time with Wahine, Luke Rizzo, aka Cloak Dagger, DJ producer based out of New York, founder of the Knock Boots label, content curator for NDYD, and you can find him spinning at various boutique hotels and clubs around New York. So Luke, Cloak Dagger, welcome. Thank you for coming. So tell me where you are. You're out in the woods somewhere. Now we're getting the actual mountain background. It looks like we might actually be in the same forest. Maybe I've got the waterfall and you've got the greenery behind you.
Right.
Tell me about where you are. And it sounded like you were taking some time to work on some music while you're out in the mountains.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not far from. I'm about an hour away from Manhattan, but I'm on the border of upstate New York and northwest Jersey.
Okay. What is that area called?
So this is called the county itself is called Sussex County.
Okay. And what are you hoping to do while you're up there?
So yeah, I'm finishing up I have 2 songs left for an EP that I'm putting out with the Horizon record label out of Sweden.
Mm-hmm. Which you just released on, right?
Exactly. So I have 2 songs that I released with them, and now I have 2 more that I'm working on. Hoping by the new year, definitely be done by the new year. So awesome. I'm really excited for everyone to hear that.
Yeah, so are we. So in my doing my research for our call, I realized several things that we have in common. We're both big city people. I'm from LA originally. Are you from New York originally, or?
So I'm from Bergen County, New Jersey, which is right outside Manhattan, about 5 minutes from the city.
Okay. We've both also been on Disco Days. You're the newest resident, and congratulations on that. And shout out to our friend Stephen Richards.
Yes, absolutely.
We seem to both have a penchant for boutique hotel environments.
Okay.
And we both know Ricardo Torres.
Yes, of course.
So I want to kind of hit on all those points, but going back to the big city people part, tell me how being from your neck of the woods, New York, New Jersey, has influenced your sound and how we can hear it in your music today.
Yeah, for sure. Being growing up so close to New York City, having the New York City FM dial at my disposal as a kid growing up, especially in the early 90s to mid 90s, was such a huge influence on me. I mean, at any given moment, we had some of the best hip hop, R&B, rock, jazz stations in the whole entire country. So having that every day to listen to, flooding my ears, was a huge inspiration for me and who I am as a producer today. It comes out consciously and subconsciously all the time.
Yeah. Is it intentional? Are you ever like, I want this to have a New York sound, and like, what would that be if so?
I mean, not really. I think if it does come out intentionally, to me, it would be in the beats. I love heavy, groove laden beats, so I feel like my sound is very groove laden, and the beats should be real thick and heavy, like a Tribe Called Quest song. Nice. That to me. So if there's a New York sound in that, it's for sure in the beats, 100%.
Right on. So the second point was we were both on Disco Days. Again, you're the new resident. Tell me how that came to be.
Stephen and I met through I believe SoundCloud many years ago. And he was just reached out. He said he was a fan of what I was doing. I think it was my production work. And then he asked me to do a set maybe 2 years ago, something like that. And yeah, he just always loved my DJ sets. And I always felt like I had a nice knack for what he was going for with the radio show. And it was just an easy collaboration for me to work that in. And then he asked me to be a resident, which was great. So I'm always pleased to do that and work alongside him because he's such a great dude.
Yeah, such a great dude, such a good show. One of my personal favorites. So well respected in the edit scene. So congratulations again on that. Really, it's a great move.
Thank you.
On the point of boutique hotels, so when I was living in LA, I used to play at a couple places. One of them was the Ritz-Carlton in Marina Del Rey, and now that I'm here in Atlanta, I'm playing at the St. Regis Hotel. And I looked at your very long resume of boutique spots that you've been playing in New York. So where does that interest being in that space come from? Like, what is it that attracts you to it?
Yeah, for me, it's the sound. my goal as a DJ when I first started in about 2005 was I always wanted to play in the sexiest places in New York City. And the niche I found was the boutique hotels. My first residency was at the Smith Tribeca Hotel, which is one of the Thompson hotels.
Yeah.
And I think that was about 2009, 2010, I landed that. I think it was 2010. And yeah, to me, I always was really inspired by, a sexy lounge kind of sound, which then parlayed more into like a new disco sound. Now, a real sexy R&B, and it's just a perfect combination for the backdrop of a boutique hotel. That's the sound. A lot of times I would frequent these places in my 20s and whatnot. And, you would have amazing DJs in New York City, but a lot of guys and girls and whoever was DJing wouldn't be able to match the sound that I was hearing for the venues. So it was kind of definitely a goal of mine to get into more of the boutiques. And throughout the past 10 years, it just one thing led to another, and I kept getting more and more and more. And now I have my own booking agency where I actually book out DJs and do the whole thing. It's called the Cloak Dagger Agency.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I'm booking out a lot of different boutique hotels in around Manhattan. Very
cool. So did the sensitivity to space and sound come first, or that came as a result of being a DJ? I think we probably started right around the same time. I started DJing around 2004. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think so. I mean, like you, I'm sure my thing was going out first. So yeah, just years of being inspired by the city and the venues that it provided. Basically, a huge inspiration for me, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I love a dirty warehouse party as much as the next girl, but
yeah.
I do also really like being in a nice space that's very intentional about everything that's going on in there, like the lighting and the decor and the food and the drinks and the sound,
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, 100%.
So the last point, Ricardo Torres. So I know him from an event that I used to do in Pasadena, California, called Prana. And we booked him for the crew that I was running with, booked him for a couple of events. I actually just reached out to him. He's probably going to be my next interview.
Great.
After
you.
Great. So tell me how the two of you got connected, how your affiliation with the Indie YD label came about.
Yeah, so not much different than with Steven. I met Christian from New Disco, Your Disco years ago. I think he was first turned on to my sound with a collaboration I did with Basement Love from Canada. So Basement Love and I had a few tracks out at the time, and Christian had reached out to me. He was a big fan of the songs. He was including them into his mixes. And yeah, we just connected from there. And then he actually introduced me to Ricardo. He was like, "Hey, my buddy Ricardo works for the label and he's coming out to the city. Can he link up with you?" I'm like, "Of course, tell him to hit me up." So yeah, Ricardo hit me up. I was having a record release party the night he was in. He was working that day in the city, and he came and met us I had a record release party in the Lower East Side for one of the Knock Boots releases. And Ricardo came out, he hung out, and we just hit it off. He's such a great guy. He's so easygoing. And
yeah.
Musically, he and I are right on the same wavelength. My wife and he hit it off because she's a big house head. So nice. The two of them just had a huge bond, and it was just a great night we had. And after that, every time he's in the city, he always comes out and sees me. He came out to the W Hotel, would see me, I think, once or twice. We used to go to Cielo. Great dude, great connection. He's like a brother to me now.
That's awesome. I love that. So let's talk about your latest release. Is it Horizon or Horizon Records? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correct.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, it's Horizon Records. They're based out of Sweden.
Right. So it's called Not Your Lover. I believe TrackSource, Spotify. Where else can folks check that out?
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's on iTunes. It's everywhere. Spotify for sure. SoundCloud. It's everywhere. Anywhere we can get music, it's there. TrackSource. It'd be nice to climb the TrackSource chart. So I guess I'll shout out TrackSource.
Okay. All the DJs get on TrackSource. Thank you.
Yeah. Exactly.
So as a Californian girl who's spent a lot of time at pool parties, I can appreciate the very sunny, kind of chilled pool party vibes on this one. So tell me about your
Awesome.
process, how that track came together.
Yeah. Not Your Lover I was working on, I have another song out on Horizon called Without You that they put it on their compilation that came out a couple of months ago. And then I was working on Not Your Lover shortly after that one. And yeah, it just kind of came out pretty organically off the drums that was built off Without You. I kind of parlayed into Not Your Lover. And then a lot of the synth sounds was I use a lot of Splice sample, great tool for DJs and producers because it's just, there's so much at your disposal there. And then I use Apple Loops, just came up with a real thick bass line for it. And then I think it was off the Leno package of Splice for the synth sound. And then the vocal was off of Splice and it just worked perfectly. Although it was very hard to put them together, but it wound up working.
I was going to ask what the source of the vocal was, if that was, something that you commissioned or.
Yeah, no. So that's off of the vocals are off of Splice. And it's just, I think the vocals in that song were like 100 BPMs or something like that was the tempo. And I had to bump it up to like 116. It was, the hardest part is just getting the vocals down into the song, and into the groove. Because my whole thing is, get the bass groove down, get the, the synth down, the drums. Once we have that, then it's like, all right, let's build from there. Let's get the vocals down. And the hardest part in that song, and Not Your Lover, was just getting the vocals to be positioned correctly.
But did you learn something in that process about what's your new trick that you learned about vocals after doing that?
Yeah, for sure. Vocals is, I'm not working with vocalists in the studio, so I'm taking vocal samples. So, in one regard, that's really good because I don't have to tell the person what I want to hear. It's already there and I'm just putting it into the track. On the other hand, if something is out of time, it's my job and only my job to just make sure it's positioned into time. And that's probably the hardest part about tracking the vocals when you're taking it from a sample is just getting it into time because it's not always going to, what you're taking as a producer off a splice or off of a cutting a sample or something isn't always going to be in the same tempo or even the same key sometimes. So you really have to do your best to position it perfectly into time and into key.
Yeah, all of the little like micro nudging.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's tedious.
It can be for sure. Are you using Ableton? What DAW are you in?
I'm using strictly GarageBand these days, believe it or not, and primarily off my iPhone. Yeah, it's been it's been absolutely. And I tell people that, and they're like, "What?" I said, it's the GarageBand Apple Loops. The sounds that they're updating every day, or just about every day, maybe every month, are incredible sounds.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go check that out because I'm just getting started in Ableton, and just the process of wrapping my mind around it can be such drudgery that it's like, okay, I have no excuse. I have GarageBand on my phone. So all of you aspiring producers out there, you've got no excuse. We've all got an iPhone and we've all got GarageBand. That's amazing. That's really, super amazing.
And to piggyback off what you're saying with that is exactly why I got so good at it, because it's here. It's in my back pocket. I have my phone on me all day long. So at first I was like, just playing around with it. And I don't know if you heard my song Cut Me Open, but that was the first song I produced on GarageBand. I mean, it has 70,000, close to 80,000 hits on SoundCloud, and I positioned the vocals. I cut those in Serato DJ, but then imported it. That was the first song I learned how to use GarageBand. It was only in the beginning of the pandemic. And then from there, I'm a 100% supporter of GarageBand. I love it. It's incredible,
Maybe that's why the nudging is so tedious, because you're doing it on a little tiny screen.
Yes. And I have the iPhone 12 mini. So if you can picture that, it's
oh Lord. We needed to get you a big iPad, at least for that.
Something, right? Come on, help me out here.
I'm super amazed by that. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to mull that one over. I also think you need to start a whole TikTok channel just for how you're producing tracks
I'm telling you,
GarageBand.
It's not the gear, it's the ear. I'm a huge proponent of that saying.
Absolutely. I'm that for DJing, because I made my winning mix for Defected Croatia on a controller that's like smaller than the laptop that I'm on right now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No, it's not. It's really not. It's not. And there's people, I mean, I know even with GarageBand that they'll be like, oh, well, I don't know. I mean, if you can, there's songs that I have that I A and B to other tracks that I'm sure were not produced on a person's phone. And I do not hear a difference. I really don't. I mean, the sounds are so nice. It's just, I don't hear a difference. It sounds great to me.
Interesting. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about your label, Knock Boots. Mm-hmm. It's a boutique edits label. Can you sort of, in a nutshell, describe the sound that you're looking for when you're looking to collaborate with other artists and bring them on as part of your releases?
Yeah, so Knock Boots, I started back in, I think, 2011, we put out the first one. And it's just the aesthetic is deep disco. Back then was kind of a thing, everyone was deep disco. Now it's like, you don't really hear about that anymore, but it's anywhere that's about 96 to 110 BPMs and not really wavering too high above that. Just a nice, deep, sexy, soulful sound is really what the Knock Boots vibe is.
Appropriate for a boutique hotel setting.
Exactly. That's exactly, that's really exactly what it is. But like you said, primarily edits. I don't want to call it a disco label because it's not really anything, it's not disco. If it's anything, there's some new disco kind of thing, but it's a deep disco R&B sound, and really slow disco, I guess you could say, right? So it's never really wavering above 110 BPMs. And some really great producers have been on the label. Vigi is great. Basement Love is great. Ash
Love
Reynolds. God, yes. Yeah,
Silver Rider, Hot Mood.
There's so many. Yes, thank you. Yeah, all those guys, great producers. Peace All, right? And he's in New York. Peace All actually did a vinyl only set for us in the Lower East Side for one of our Knock Boots releases, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful evening that night. Yeah,
we've had him on Spin City as a guest. I've hung out in many chat rooms with him over the pandemic. Cool dude.
Oh, he's such a good guy, and he's such a fantastic producer. He's so good. He's so good.
Really cool. So what have you learned as the owner of a record label?
You don't make a lot of money. No, I'm not into it at all for any money at all. I'm half joking. It's just, don't do it unless you're really passionate about it, because that's the only reason why I started it. I only started it because I love music and I love putting out music. And it was a platform for myself too, to put out stuff. I was just doing edits in Serato. I wasn't doing edits under any other program. It wasn't until I started collaborating with guys like Basement Love or Ash Reynolds, where then it was like, hey, here's some ideas I have. Here's some samples that I'm cutting up in Serato, scratch live, and sending them out to those guys who were real producers and doing it that way, So, yeah, I mean, the main thing to me is, it's just another extension of the passion for music, is putting out music, and then having a platform to do it and making your own little boutique record label or however you want to do it. To me, it has nothing to do with money or has nothing to do with it being huge or anything like that. It's just for a community of all of us who really appreciate this sound. That's it.
Yeah, the opportunity to collaborate with producers that you admire and give them a platform to do their thing. It's great.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. And if other people dig it, great.
So is there a new edits release in the work for Knock Boots?
Yeah, I got one coming out with Vigi. Just sent me a new one. Yeah, so we're gonna drop that within the next couple of weeks.
I think he's gonna be so huge. I mean,
he's unbelievable.
Just mad talented. Oh
my God,
I'm in love.
He's right. Everything he puts out, I'm in love with too. He's so great, and he's so down to earth. Such a great guy. Super
sweet, and his productions are just that perfect blend of like really sophisticated and polished, but also soulful at the same time.
Yes, exactly. He's got a knack for hearing such soulful vocals and finding the vocal line and just looping it at the right time. It's right up my alley.
Yeah, me too. So I used to spend a fair amount of time in New York for work in my former life as a footwear designer. But I never got to club while I was there. I don't know if you know Amber Valentine. She does a lot of the queer events in New York. She was down here recently playing. I was hanging out with her, and she invited me to come up there to play with her. So
Okay.
if you were going to come up with if you were me and I need to put together a bucket list of places that like I wanted to play at, like what would those be?
Well, Cielo just closed a couple of years ago, and that to me was the Studio 54 of our time.
Yeah.
It was the Paradise Garage. It was the epicenter of New York City house music for a period of about 20 something year or 20 years, I would say. I think they opened in 2000 and then closed in 2020 or something like that, 2019.
Yeah.
That was to me the best. And I was able to work my way into a nice little residency there with the Toca Cielo party. I'm just so grateful that I was ever had the opportunity to play there, because to me, when I first started as a DJ back in 2004, 2005, I never dreamed of being able to be in Cielo. You know, I mean, that was the epicenter. You only heard about it. If you were lucky to even get in, you know, because the place wasn't that big, but the sound was, you know, incredible. And the residents were Louis Vega, Francois K. I mean, it was like, you don't get to play at Cielo, you know? And then back in like 2015, I wound up had an opportunity to do it. And I guess I was good enough for them to ask me back. And then I did it a few other times. Did you just
post a photo, a memory from that with Sabine Blazin?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Sabine and I played there. It was that set was Kamala, myself, Sabine, and then another time I played there with Mr. V. It was a great night.
Insane.
Yeah, and then I did it a couple other times too with the Toca Cielo party, which was a wild party at Cielo. It was more Afro, Latin, Brazilian house vibes, which I kind of have a foothold in that as a DJ. Mm-hmm. And so we had live percussion, dance. I mean, it was like a dream. It was a beautiful, beautiful venue, and unfortunately, it closed. But if I were to tell you,
was that due to COVID? Right I'm
now,
assuming
that's still open. No. They just
time.
Yeah, what happened was they also owned a place called Output in Brooklyn, which was another beautiful place. That's another place I would recommend you to go if they were still open. But they closed Output and they closed Cielo, I think, about the same time.
Right.
But right now, LeBain is a great rooftop in the city, and is
that the standard?
Beautiful spot. Ellie Escobar. Yeah, Ellie Escobar plays there. Great spot. Great spot.
And what of the little boutique spots that we like?
Hotel wise, I have a spot that I'm promoting right now, so I got to shout it out. It's called the Rooftop at Exchange Place, and it's actually in Jersey City, right across the river from where the World Trade Center was and where the Freedom Tower is now. And it's the best view of Manhattan, Lower Manhattan. I mean, it's unbelievable. I don't know if you've seen some of the pictures or videos on my pages.
I have.
But it's absolutely incredible. And that's a resident home for myself. And I actually book there too. So I have a lot of DJs coming in there. The most incredible view you will find of Lower Manhattan is beautiful.
Is actually not in New York.
That's actually not really in New York, right? Exactly. And then actually I should mention my first boutique residency, the Smith Hotel in Tribeca. They just reopened. They had closed and they just reopened. But another beautiful spot where I had a brunch residency a couple years ago was called NoMo SoHo down in Soho. Beautiful, beautiful venue too.
So what's the sound of New York lounge, would you say?
Roads, real nice roadsy, deep roadsy sound. But I hope my production kind of comes off like that a little bit more so with probably the knock boot sound. If you listen to maybe some of the edits that I've done with Basement Love, something where it's real soulful, so you have the sound of New York City, the R&B sound of New York City, but also kind of a sexy disco-y sound as well. But then some nice Fender Rhodesies going underneath that. So it has kind of a slow house vibe to it.
Yeah, deeper sound to it.
To me, that's the sound of New York City lounge for sure.
I'm into it. So tell me about your collaboration with Basement. What?
Basement Love.
Basement Love. I wanted to say Basement Lounge because we're talking about lounge. Tell me about your collaboration with Basement Love.
Yeah, that's Jacob. He's from Toronto. And again, he and I just met, I guess, via SoundCloud. He had a few tracks out. He's a phenomenal producer and not just edits, he's also a phenomenal musician. Unlike me, he actually plays an instrument. He plays guitar and plays bass. So he's light years ahead of me in any kind of terms of production. And I've learned so much from him throughout the past. We've been working, I guess, together on tracks for about 7 years now, something like that. And I just brought him into NDYD. He's going to be remixing a track for them for this artist named Jason Core, who's got a single coming out in a couple of weeks.
That's exciting. That's exciting. So what's the collaboration process? I mean, is that over the distance? Has it always been that way? Or do you guys physically try to get in the same space together?
Jacob and I have never met in person.
Amazing. Can I just say, SoundCloud, if you're listening, you need to highlight that messaging feature and not just have it on desktop. I've met so many people that way. Yes. Honestly.
Right. You're right. Yeah. Isn't that really such it's such a detriment that you get a message and you got to wait till you get to your desktop to read it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy. So
what is that process for you guys over the distance?
So with Jacob and I think the last couple songs that he and I worked with, I wasn't even really working in GarageBand yet and working with loops and that kind of stuff. So everything I was doing with Jacob was I was just chopping samples up in Serato, literally. And I would be like, hey, listen to this. And then I would like sample another beat under it. And so I'd be like, doesn't that sound good together? Can you do something with that? Can you sequence that? Because I don't have any of the engineering tools to do that. And he'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, I really dig your ideas. Let me see what I can do. And then he would just take it to a whole nother level. And I feel like the best song we've done was the one we put out a couple months back called Deep Inside, which was a Janet Jackson sample that I took. And that's exactly how we approached it. I just took the sample. It's an unreleased Janet Jackson song that I actually chopped the sample off of YouTube because you can't find the song anywhere.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think I just took a beat from another track, laced it underneath, looped the sample where I thought it sounded nice, sent it to Jacob. Jacob will then put a bass line over it and then sequence it in whatever program he's using. And then that's the way we do it. And we go back and forth like that.
That's interesting because somebody I've been talking to on SoundCloud, he's in Montreal, and he suggested that we collaborate on something. And he too is a musician. He's got decades of production experience. And I'm just over here like, I'm not ready to go. So not ready to go there yet. But it's like, at the same time, like we hear things as DJs, it's not like the process isn't happening in our brains. Maybe we can't translate that into a DAW yet, but the ideas are there and you use the tools that to sort of express that and then pass it on to somebody else who can add a little polish to it. Okay. You're opening up my brain. You're opening up my brain on this subject. This is good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what?
You're right.
Was that the first collaboration you did in that manner?
Yeah, I think the first song I did was with Jacob called Take Me There. But prior to that, I put out an EP in 2011 called Ali Sophie. I named it after my first daughter was born in 2010. And that was a little different because I went into a studio with an engineer and I actually hired musicians to come in and play. So we kind of built it from the ground up.
You went out big the first time.
Yeah, I think I got like a tax return and I said, okay, I know what I'm doing with this.
I love it.
Yeah. So I put out like a 4-song and then actually some of that actually did pretty well because it got picked up. I had a producer, a really great producer named Captain Planet. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely.
So he and I know each other from New York City.
I've used to play a lot of his stuff in my more lounge days.
Yeah, right. And especially if you do like world stuff, he's amazing. He's to me the best. So he remixed. I had him remix the title track named Ali Sophie, and that actually got released under the Claude Chalet. Remember Buddha Bar?
Yep. Huge. Like bucket list as far as lounge compilations go. That's awesome.
Oh my God, it was like a dream come true. And again, yeah, like you said, like I brought that into the studio with an engineer in Jersey City, 2011. Then had Charlie kind of remix it. I don't even know how they okay, asking if they can license it. I said, yeah, absolutely. So that was awesome. And then it got picked up. That EP is on Spotify. It's on a record label called Spring Strut out of California. released that. That's Danny Major's label.
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I like to do sort of a rapid fire round based on the island time theme. So you're marooned on an island. You get to pick the island. What is it?
Menorca, because I got family there.
All right. Very nice. So you're stuck on this island. You have one subject you're going to become an expert in because you have the time to do it. What is that subject?
Let's see. How about fishing? Because I love to cook and I love fish. And
All right.
I'm a pescatarian now. So I think that's a great opportunity. Maybe spear fishing or something like that.
Okay. While you're on the island, you get to pick 2 DJs to drag with you to entertain you. One of them for daytime and one of them for nighttime. Who are those 2 DJs?
Okay, cool. I'm going to keep it in New York City.
All right.
For daytime, I'd have to say DJ Nicodemus. And for nighttime, I say Mr. V.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. Last one. You get the stems, full clearance, any 3 tracks to work on while you're on the island. What are the 3 tracks?
Whoa. Let me see. Okay. I want because my favorite band as a kid was Rush. So I want the Tom Sawyer stems, especially the synth part in the beginning. Let me see. Now I need 2 more stems.
Yeah. Whatever you want. Full clearance.
Okay. Anything from Louis Vega or Masters at Work. Anything. And let me see a third one.
Yep.
Anything off of the Richest Man in Babylon Thievery Corporation record.
These are good picks.
That's my favorite record of all time. That's what inspired me to do what I'm doing today.
Okay. I could definitely hear that in your sound and in the places that you enjoy playing in. It's very clear.
Thank you. Cool.
So I'm also about manifesting some shit. So I'm going to give you the space and the opportunity to just speak out into the world. Like, what venues do you want to play, events, people you want to collaborate with, labels you want to release on, like whatever, or how you want your life to look, etc. Go for it.
Yeah, I would love for everything to just return to where we were. I would love for everyone to get vaccinated. I would love for everyone to respect each other and wear a mask so we can actually get back to where we were, because pre-pandemic, it felt like I was on cloud 9 and everything was just going higher and higher from a production standpoint, from my booking agency, from my DJ performances, everything. And then the floor dropped out. So now I feel like we're just kind of getting back a little bit, but we need everyone to just really bind together so we can take it back to where it was and then go further and go onward and upward.
Yeah, I'm ready for the clubbing renaissance that this world needs to heal itself, personally.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
So where can people find you? What's your next appearance on Disco Days? Where can folks see you in New York? Where can people find you online?
My handle is at Cloak Dagger NYC across all platforms. Knockboots.bandcamp.com for all the Knockboots releases. DJCloakDagger.com is my website for my booking agency. Disco Days, I'm a quarterly resident, so I just did one, I think last month. So I guess in a couple months I'll have another Disco Days. I'm finishing up my EP for the Horizon record label, so that'll be out definitely before the new year, and I'm really excited for everyone to hear what's coming, because I feel like as a producer, I'm finally where I want to be, where I'm creating music on my own without the help of anyone else. So, and I feel like the sound of that is coming through just the way I want it to. So I'm really excited for everyone to hear what I have brewing and coming.
Yeah. And where can folks see you playing anytime soon?
So I have a residency at the Rooftop at Exchange Place in Jersey City, which is literally right across from the World Trade Center. And it's the most phenomenal view of Lower Manhattan. So if you're in the area, I'm there. The next time I'll be there is October 23rd, because I have a pretty busy schedule aside
That's my
from other
birthday.
things. Oh, well, you got to come out. This is my formal introduction or for you to come and DJ with me there on your birthday.
I would love that. Let's try
Come
to
on
make
up.
that happen. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely.
Well, we got all the deets on what's coming next. Is there anything else you wanna plug or let people know about?
We got a new knock boots coming out. What else am I doing? I got so much going on. I'm trying to wrap it all into one. I just did a record release party for Not Your Lover, which is out right now. And that was alongside my buddy Prince Hakeem, who's actually the MC for Kool in the Gang. And he came out and DJ'd with me that night. He's a phenomenal producer. He also has a single out right now. So he and I are going to do some more collaborating and DJ sets together.
Cool. I love it. Well, Cloak Dagger, Luke Rizzo, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. Hopefully we'll get to see each other in New York on my birthday. In the meantime, enjoy the woods and look forward to hearing the fruits of your labor there.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Take care now.
Take care. Bye.